Good morning.
What's up, everybody?
Good morning.
Welcome to the Monday Super Show. We are back to talk about your lovely Monday morning things and all the fun things that happened over the weekend. If you want to know more about us, go to gamersheavenpnw.com. You can join our Discord server there, and we're going to talk about Discord later today.
Heck yeah.
You can check out all of our past videos on YouTube. One of our ones kind of blew up over the weekend, so we were super excited to see that one go.
Goodness.
We were like, wow, okay, apparently people really want to talk about this Magic boycott. All right, cool. So
You can also see our live event schedule and our merch store as well, and that does feature stuff like this.
pretty shirts. Yes, I have shaved face because I had to go do government things, and so I have to do that. And it is a little curly, but I hadn't had hair grease in it all weekend, so it's like fresh grease. So anyway, less about my hair grease and shaven face. Chat, happy Monday to everybody. I hope that you are starting the week off. I know Jordan was having a case of the Monday, like, oh my
yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's kind of sad that Mondays get a bad rap, but there are quite a few reasons Mondays get a bad rap.
Yes. So we got lots of fun stuff planned for today to talk about. Sorry, my brain just was like, and short circuit. Go.
Time
No,
to
not more
buffer.
about my face. We don't need anything about my
Look
face.
at this Alex's face.
That is my face.
For
It
only
is a face.
$52.99, you too can have an Alex's face.
Wait a minute. We're selling my face for $52.99.
It's an
I don't
NFT
know.
you can
It's
print
an
out.
And
NFT,
actually,
yeah.
pulling people's
You can
faces off
print out.
reminds me of a
Face
scene
off.
in Guardians of the Galaxy, because that was the thing that happened. I did see Guardians this weekend. We're not going to do a big full review today. I will say, the things that you've heard, if you have issues with some of the animal stuff, it may be a tough watch at points. But overall, I think it was a pretty good. I think it was a pretty good movie. It was a good way for them to end that trilogy. So I recommend it. It did really well at the box office over the weekend. Did 282. So I think
I heard it gives some more good backstory that we've all been kind of clamoring for, so I'm pretty excited to
for
see
good old
it.
Rocket.
Yes, a
We
Rocket.
like Rocket. And I think Bradley Cooper as the voice of Rocket knocks it out of the park. I think he's done.
Always.
Since the first movie, I think Bradley Cooper was a really brilliant casting
he's
choice.
a strong casting choice for that, yeah.
And
He's a very good voice for
I'll be
Rocket.
honest, for me, it made something like when they first cast him as Rocket, I was surprised he took the part,
Yeah, me
because
too.
that's not really his.
I mean, I was also surprised that Vin Diesel took Groot, so...
That did not surprise me, especially when I saw the if you've never seen the behind the scenes stuff from Guardians 1, Vin Diesel walks around on stilts
Yep.
in the sound studio so he could
I am
feel
Groot.
as tall and just like, I am Groot.
Yes.
You do hear a little more Vin Dieseliness in his voice in this particular. You've seen the preview, so you know it's like late teenage, early young adult age Groot, and he's like all like jacked, like he's
Does that
like.
mean his room is a lot less clean, or is it more clean than it was in the second one?
You don't really see it, but he does really well. But he's like jacked Groot, and he's got some new
Aw.
tricks, and we all love Groot.
I just love that Groot is growing up again.
Um,
Also, George, we do have a shirt with our chibi faces on
We
it.
do, it's on
up
the merch store. He also wears
and-
tree-inspired outfits to the red
yeah,
carpet.
he
He
does.
does love Groot. And
He and Jack Black just like going into their character and like
It's always a
embodying
lot of-
them. So good.
it's a lot of fun. Yes, there is a Chibi Head shirt. You can go to our merch store, and there is a me, Phil, and Taylor Chibi Head shirt.
I made it look like the old
Pep
school
Boys.
Pep Boys
Yes.
logo. I was pretty excited. The chibi heads are actually made by Art by Snail, or Eva, if you're part of our community, and they are very cute, and we still have some of those stickers too, which I have on my water bottle.
All right. But here we are. Topic number one. Just Pete, we are going to talk about some Xbox today. So Xbox, Phil Spencer did an interview with the Xcast on Thursday. And he said, it says here, the Xbox boss.
Take it again.
The head of Xbox admitted that Microsoft lost the 8th generation console war, calling it the worst generation for them to lose. He pointed out that some onlookers have suggested that all Xbox needs to do is to win is to build great games, and that will shift things. Spencer says, nope. He goes,
That's not the case.
He goes, we're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo.
I don't think that's ever been their model.
I think it was, but it isn't anymore.
When they
he
came
goes,
out with the original.
there isn't really a great solution or win for us. I know that will upset a ton of people, but the truth of the matter is that when you're third in a console marketplace and the top two players are as strong as they are, and in certain cases have a discrete focus on doing deals and other things that will make being Xbox hard for us as a team. Our vision is everyone on console is a great experience and they feel like a first-class citizen. He goes on to say, there's no world where Starfield is an 11 out of 10 and people start selling PS5s. It's not going to happen. Which was the one that really got people.
Wow.
And so, that being said, what do you think?
I didn't see that last comment.
Yeah. That's really, like, that was the one where it took me back.
Yeah. So
they haven't officially lost the Activision deal.
not quite yet. I do know that they're repealing, they're doing a repeal.
They're appealing for the CMA.
Right.
EU's supposed to have their decision out later this month.
And as brought up by chat, Nintendo doesn't even try that hard, which is funny. I mean, that is a generational game system. That has been out since like forever.
I would actually disagree, 420 Doctor. I think Nintendo tries the hardest. I just think Nintendo has the best understanding of their core audiences and what their core audiences want.
Well, they also know how to continue to renew their player base, right? Because they bring in a lot of kids, which as soon as you get kids into your player base, you have a gamer for life if you do it right. Speaking of, there is some Nintendo news later that I could probably bring up. It's pretty interesting. Anyways, so Xbox One, I do think that Phil Spencer saying what he did, one, interestingly humble in a weird way. Because he's just like,
we lost.
And this is the worst place for us to lose, but also not exactly where we're wanting to go with this.
And also, even if we do the thing that you think we should do,
right,
it's not going to work.
Right. So that also means that, like, he's not necessarily disconnected from his console, right? Which is something that we see often with CEOs in big corporations, especially, G Fuel.
By that she means she's not talking that G Fuel is bad. She burped G Fuel.
Because G Fuel.
By the way, if you go to gfuel.com and use the code GamersHeaven, you can get discounts off your stuff, and that supports the franchise.
Yay!
Thanks, G Fuel. By the way, we will have our G Fuel sign up this week. I'm going to hang it behind us.
Hilarious.
So.
Okay, anyways. So, the fact that, like, he is still connected to his gaming system, he's, like, understanding of his audience, and he's also talking about the fact that, like, he does want his console players to feel like they are first-class citizens, which is not necessarily the case, especially when it comes to gaming in general. Like, that's very PC heavy for the most part, and then usually you view consoles as a separate entity, where Xbox has worked on making it so that you do not have to necessarily view those two things as separate entities. Like, we have talked about it before, where, like, my household has Game Pass, and we're able to play PC to Xbox often. And it has actually made our gaming experience far better because, like, I hate sitting at the computer, so I would rather sit on the couch. And so if they are, one, kind of conceding this console war, right, and just accepting that they have lost, that also may mean that they see where they have gone wrong in this one.
I don't even think it's wrong. I think it's
where it has gone wrong, not they have gone wrong. Right?
Okay.
Semantics. And perhaps that means that they're already trying to strategize for the next stage.
And we've talked about this a bunch of times where we have felt for a while that the future of Xbox, right? Because now when I think of Xbox, now this is me personally, when I think of Xbox, I don't think of the console. I think of the app on my PC through which I play Xbox games, right? Because I have Game Pass because you and Pete sold me on the joys that are Game Pass.
It is a subscription service. You get to play AAA games for free.
Yes.
Basically.
Um,
Not free.
so
it's
I'm,
subscription.
and I do like some of the cloud gaming features and things like that. And we've talked a lot about how we think that gaming as a service is kind of the model that we think Microsoft's pushing towards. I think this kind of, the fact that Phil Spencer is saying this leads, I think, more credence to the idea that that is where they're going.
Right.
He's saying, look, we can't win the console war
These are merely vehicles to what we are trying
to
sell.
do, and like I think they would love the Xbox. I think internally, if the Xbox was suddenly the #1 console in the world, I think they would cheer. I don't think they don't want the Xbox to be successful. I think that they are measuring their success in the console market in a different way.
Yeah.
And again, I agree with him. Even if Starfield's an 11 out of 10, how many people are going to go out and buy an Xbox just to play that game?
Right. They'll probably just get
Producer
on the
Pete's
Xbox
back there shaking his head.
Game Pass on their PC to play it.
Yep. Especially now that graphic cards costs are coming down and things are getting cheaper again. That's good. To answer somebody's question in chat about the Xbox stuff, how often do the appeals work? I don't know in the UK. In the US, they work pretty frequently.
Right.
And so, I mean, while the FTC is suing in the United States to block the Activision Blizzard deal, that's going to take a long time. And Microsoft has a long history with the Federal Trade Commission being accused of monopolistic practices.
Which
And they ended up settling out of court because they basically lost. So I'm not sure. So again, I don't know enough about the UK side of the CMA. I know there was a lot of people that when the CMA put out their reasoning for why they wanted to block the deal, a lot of people were like,
why
huh?
is that the reason?
Even in the UK, they were like, that's weird, and this is a weird one from them to block because it's not grabbing another one in your own vertical, it's grabbing a different horizontal, company. So, because you're grabbing an underlying industry here, I honestly don't know. I don't know. Let us know, chat. Let us know, people down in the comments. If Starfield's an 11 out of 10, would you switch?
Yeah.
I already have a Switch.
Well,
I'm saying, like, all right, actually, so as part of this, what level of game does it have to be? Because I know what the answer is for me, and I've talked about it on the show before, but for you, what is it got to be where you're like, I'm going to go out and invest in a console for this game?
Honestly,
Like, what level, like 12 out of 10 before you go out and buy a PlayStation?
so the reason why I buy game consoles at this point is because I'm already in their ecosystem, which is something that has been voiced with Xbox as well.
I think that was something else he brought up in that interview.
Is the fact that so I have PlayStations, right? Because I was brought up in the PlayStation ecosystem. I made the switch over to Xbox because I ended up liking their ecosystem as just a user-friendly interface, and I really loved Halo.
Yeah.
So I don't, at this point, right, one, I have rent to pay, so I'm not just going to go and drop a load of cash on a console just randomly because they have a shiny game. And two, in the age that we're in, there are a lot of PC ports that happen a year or two after the fact, and I am happy to be patient for that.
Go back and watch our other videos about how PC ports have been going lately.
Well, and as some users on YouTube have kindly commented, my sarcasm did not come across very well in that clip. I do know that there are a lot of games that go from PC ported to console and vice versa, and there's certainly a very large market for that. But what I am saying is, if there's just a blockbuster game, right, that I can't get on any other console, and it's not one that is able to go back a generation, right, because we have PS4s, I'll wait and see if a chance comes up, but it's not like I'm going to scramble for another console,
Well, and speaking of ecosystems, now that people in the digital gaming landscape, because in 2022 and 2023 especially, digital was the #1 way games were sold.
Yes.
Right? Once you're in that, it's kind of like the Apple Android thing, right?
Yes.
You and I have talked about this much. I can't leave Apple's ecosystem.
Yeah,
at this
you've been
point.
in that
Like,
ecosystem for too long.
I've been so long that it's there, and I think, and actually, I was just rereading part of the article. That's a point that Phil Spencer makes. He goes, that was why he said this was the worst generation to lose, was because so much of it has gone digital that if you don't have that audience here, you're gonna have a hard time getting them going forward.
Yep.
So there you go. Let us know what you think. We're curious.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
Phil Spencer says they lost the console war for this generation. It's over.
There's still humility in accepting
Yep,
defeat.
that's
I
good.
appreciate that.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So Discord username changes.
Alright.
Oh boy, here
they
we
have
go.
announced basically that what they're going to be doing is rolling out a series of changes that basically drop the hashtag and the last four numbers. I know it's the number sign, pound
No, but
sign,
what is
whatever.
they have a specific term for it.
Identifier, discriminator.
Discriminator.
Right. So, yeah.
That's literally what they call it. It's a
that's what they
4-digit
call it.
discriminator.
Yeah. So, and they're doing this in order to make it easier for you to make friends on Discord, which, sure, like, I literally just shared my username with a friend yesterday, actually, and it was kind of a hassle because I don't ever remember that 4-digit code. However, they are basically making it so that you just have your username, it's case sensitive, and
So
I can see a lot of problems stemming from this or coming from this.
So again, to kind of recap here, they're saying this is supposed to be like an accessibility and easier for you to do stuff on there, so that if I want to give my Discord username to person X, I don't have to be like, by the way, it's Alex the Humanoid, hashtag burp, right? I can just say, yo, I'm Alex the Humanoid. Suffice it to say, throughout various Discord communities, this change is not popular.
No.
It's basically been resoundingly like, what are you doing? For a couple reasons. One, the closed kind of ecosystems that Discord builds, people like that.
Yes.
Also in industries like video games and things like that, streamers and things, where harassment, doxing, things like that happen, having those 4-digit discriminators means that randos can't just find you.
Right. Well, and there's also something to say about a lot of game development communities actually using Discord as well, which makes it even a little bit dicier there too. With this all said, what they're doing, the way they're rolling this change out, right? They are basically going to the oldest users first and letting them lock down their usernames and then working their way up. So if you have an older Discord account, you will be able to see this change and make sure that your account name
Has
is
it hit
locked
you
in.
yet?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know where older is. That's the thing. Is like, I know they said
Well-
they're doing older first, but I'm like,
Pause.
We have
Ooh.
standard time.
All right.
can
Do
you
wanna go?
can you put us on the Be Right Back screen?
Yeah.
We'll be
Sorry,
right back,
Max.
chat.
Store stuff.
So I'm trying to find out how old Discord
Bring
is.
us back.
We are back.
We are back. Sorry about that. We had a vendor pop in to deliver something, and I had to pay them really quick. That's what happened.
Fun fact, it actually gave me some time to look this up. So Discord was created in 2015. So if you made your account back then, you should be seeing these changes roll out for your username here shortly. And then they will start rolling like through the years.
So I'm trying to remember when I joined Discord.
Apparently you can check, but it's a very convoluted way of checking. You have to take your username and go and copy and paste it into a Discord age finder. It is very interesting. Suffice to say, like, as somebody who has streamed for quite a long time, like I've been streaming since 2017, 2018, I believe. This can bring about some issues because if somebody has had an account older than yours and they decide to take your name, right, then they're able to impersonate you, and you have no way of actually refuting that impersonation. We've seen this happen on Twitter a lot, especially with the loss of verified check marks.
Yeah, the change to the blue check system has worked out great. Hey,
So them doing this on Discord is kind of a step back in safety and security, in my opinion.
yeah, and there's a lot of talk that this is... So Discord eventually wants to either be acquired or go public because this is how these systems work, right? And without getting into the debate about the way the system is built, because while we don't love it, it is what it is.
Right.
So growth is kind of the name of the game. And where I think Discord is they're starting to see a plateau here because there is, some kind of closed ecosystem stuff happening on
Yes.
Discord. And the other thing is there is a level of user complication and accessibility for stuff
Yes.
that builds a certain curve. Is why I'm doing this motion with my bloody hand here.
I didn't know your hand was bloody. You might want to go wash that.
Yep. So I understand why they're doing it, but I still think it's a bad idea. And I think there was a better way to do it. I am glad that they're doing it in a slow rollout, because can you imagine the chaos if they would have tried to roll everybody at once?
I can imagine that the moderation for that would have been absolute bonkers as well.
If there was just a freaking street race to get your username.
I know that personally, especially because my username is something that I have tied to just about everything now.
Yeah, ditto.
Like, I have worked to homogenize all of that. If somebody ends up taking my username, I am going to be a little miffed. So
I've generally had pretty good luck with mine, but I've done the same thing, and I've
Yeah.
had to, between Identico and other stuff,
Oh,
over
yeah.
the last, God, has it been that long? 7, 8 years.
yeah,
I've had to build a set brand
yes.
for myself.
Yes. Well, and I don't know if you ever witnessed the rush over to Mixer, I believe it was.
I saw the rush over
With-
the Mixer.
with Twitch users, but what it was recommended, especially if you were streaming on Twitch, right, was to go and lock down your username over on Mixer.
So somebody else didn't do it.
Somebody else doesn't do it, and then impersonate you on that platform as well. I don't know if there's really a right answer to this.
You think this drives people away from Discord?
I mean, considering that Discord does have some direct competition, right? We have Guilded, which is owned by Roblox, and is a closed ecosystem as well. I know it's kind of funny, but
Hey,
it is apparently
Going
a
down
better.
Roblox, that's crazy.
It's apparently a better VoIP system overall. They have better quality on their voice calls. Then
interesting.
you also have Mastodon, which is more of an offshoot of like a Reddit-esque,
Twitter-esque.
Twitter-esque community, you know, but like each of these platforms can technically compete. So I'm wondering how this is going to affect like user demographics and how the Discord app and these other apps are used in terms of like what our business is using for community building, what
again,
are streamers using for community building, how do we game together?
We do this partially to build that kind of like sense of community there. By the way, if you want to join our Discord, go to gamersheavenpnw.com and you can click the Discord link and it will put you into our Discord.
This Nice.
That was a good plug.
See? I'm getting better at this.
What do you think? I mean, I know that you
I'm not
have
super
been on Discord, but I also know that you're not very familiar with these other apps.
So I haven't used Gilded yet. My daughter plays a lot of Roblox, and Roblox is a big thing. Roblox is a bonkers ecosystem, and unless you're inside of it, a lot of people don't even know it exists.
Right.
There's actually some super. By the way, if you want to try some really interesting, like indie, and I mean truly indie, these are people who use Roblox. Roblox has a building tool.
Yeah.
To build your own games.
Like their own dev kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's so easy to use that like some of us ever built by like 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds, right? And it's in the Roblox lobby and you can make money off of it. Like you can sell your stuff for like 99 cents.
Yeah.
So there's like Sims ports, there's FNAF, there's everything. And then there's people who build these, like I was watching a Game Theory a while ago, because somebody has built this like really intricate horror series inside of the Roblox. In Roblox. It's somebody in the chat said I've never had to buy another game. They're all in Roblox. He was joking, but not incorrect. It's not incorrect. Again, it's a very specific style of animation. It's got that very Lego-y.
Yeah, it reminds me of Minecraft.
Yes.
Which is also why I didn't necessarily feel compelled to go check it out, because I've been playing Minecraft since like the inception. So, but like I'm not against checking out Roblox, for one. And two, I do think that them having Gilded,
they have money too,
is very strong. Like that's a good, strong way to make sure that you have a good ecosystem that is taken care of. I do know they have higher security for Gilded.
I think that flows into the Roblox thingy, and I may check out Gilded now, now that you're mentioning it, because again, so Roblox has the money behind it to build a really solid platform if they want to, because Roblox makes a lot of money. And two, their security features are super strong because they have such a heavy kid user base.
They have so many kids on there, which is also another reason why I haven't jumped on.
the reason we allow Roblox, for like my daughter actually plays Roblox all the time.
Yeah.
Is because like we can lock down.
Right. Like certain aspects
like
of Roblox.
So much stuff to keep people to keep it from people being able to find her or randomly friend her. Like there's a feature in there, right? There's a feature where she cannot be friended by just randos. Like there's a process.
Good.
People who are not her friends can't chat with her. So if they build Gilded on a similar security platform or safety platform, that they built Roblox on, that might be, it really might be worth looking into.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I do know that for our store Discord, right, we're working on doing a community partnership right now. That's something that I have on my to-do list today. But if we end up checking out Gilded, chat, and I'm asking you for your opinions as well.
Would y'all like to try it?
Yeah, like if we were to move to a different community space that is on the internet, like how would you feel about that? Would you be more reticent to join? Would you want to see that change, especially with the security changes coming to Discord? And also, if a wildling messages you and it is not me, you will probably be able to figure that out.
Anyway, so there you go. Discord, keep your eyes open on your Discord apps for them telling you to change your username. I'm hoping I get to keep my username. I'm going to also be pretty horked if I have to change my name.
It looked like I had the option to delete the last
Discriminator?
when I was just in there. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to have to take a look.
It's interesting. We'll have to do a little bit more research. We'll probably follow up on this a little bit later.
Yep. All right. Before we get into topic number 3, if you've got topics you want us to talk about toward the tail end of the show, drop them down into the chat windows over there on YouTube. Redeem some channel points and get your message highlighted and do a topic request. If there's anything you guys saw over the weekend or something interesting you saw in the gaming eco space thing
that we have missed,
all right,
or that is more your niche,
like drop it in the chat right now, and we'll try and hit those. Producer Pete keeps track of that. So, you know, he drops them in our little rundown piece over here on the screen.
Shame.
Yep. So there you go. So if you have any things, drop them into the chat right now. Moving on to topic number 3, Pokemon Go.
There's a lot of information to unpack here.
Okay.
Because there were actually quite a few articles that I found while looking at this.
Yeah, and when you were bringing me up to speed, like I had to go back and look. So let's start with the basics. During the pandemic,
Yes.
they changed some stuff. What did they change?
So they basically made it so that your actual physical location was not the game was not contingent on where you were physically located. This made it easier for those who were on lockdown, right, and respecting the space needed for pandemic. It made it so that we could play Pokemon Go from our houses, which I do think is a very good way to make sure that you are catering towards those who are not necessarily able to leave their houses.
The people with disabilities, things
Yes,
like that, started
yes.
jumping on Pokemon Go because
Yes.
now it's a much more practical game to play.
Yes, they went up to 9.1 million players and have actually dropped down to about, I think it was like 4.2 million players in the last couple of months, because what they did after making it so that you could play from your house is they made remote raid passes, which means that you could go and raid from wherever you could, right? And you would pay for these remote raid passes, and then you'd participate. You get Pokemon and stuff like that from it. And they have since then nerfed it, which means that there's a cap on how many remote raiders can actually exist. And it's actually creating a lot of issues for Pokemon Go players because
now they can't get raids off the ground.
They can't get raids going, because it usually means that if you don't have enough people physically there alongside the 5 remote raid players, then you just time out on a battle pass that you've paid for.
It's not just that you time out. So, like when I've done raids in the past, the biggest issue I would run into prior to, this is pre-pandemic, before the remote raid passes, is you have to be somewhere where there's enough people.
Yeah.
Right? Because some of those monsters that pop out of the eggs in the raids are crazy powerful.
They're OP.
And so when you're when there's like, I remember there was a bunch of us like hanging out when there was like 8 of us with like our top tier Pokemon. We could not beat the raid boss on a first run through when you were there.
Yep. I remember my mom being very upset about a Gyarados in particular.
You were like, what the smoke? And so, so the remote raid passes are a thing. The issue that, and Taylor and I were doing the rundowns this morning, the problem that we're seeing partially with this story is there's a lot of conflicting information.
Yeah.
So like the number that she said, one set of groups is saying that they've dropped 1 million in the last month.
Yes.
The other one that we saw said, no, most of those losses were in 2021 and 2022.
Right.
And that the people who've been mad about the changes that they did in April, that the numbers haven't dropped since they did anything. That was the one article you sent me.
Yes.
Where they were like, this boycott basically did nothing. You know, like, we don't know. One group came out and said that their revenues had dropped, and then Niantic immediately jumped out and was like, our quarter 3 2023 is higher than 2022, so we don't know what you're talking about.
It's extremely muddled, and it's very interesting to see the different figures and information brought out there that is either directly disputed by Niantic or disputed by other
third-party
reports.
trackers. This kind of comes down to that transparency thing. Like Steam is really good about it, where they're like, look, this is how many concurrent users a game has, because they don't have a dog in the fight.
No, they're just they are the platform that carries the games.
Right, and so, you know, it's tough. Pokemon Go, going back to the kind of the start of Pokemon Go, and I still remember the first couple of days that Pokemon Go dropped, and I remember downloading it myself, thinking, oh, this is neat. And I remember I was living in Seattle at the time, like downtown, and I went across the street to the park, and it's a big park, but you know, and there was people there and doing stuff. I had never seen anything like I saw with Pokemon Go when it first came out. I was walking this park and I saw 12-year-olds talking to grandparents about, there's a Raichu in those bushes over there, and there's a Squirtle over there. And I had never seen a community
just like spontaneously
erupt.
Flourish.
And everybody was happy and running around and walking around and being outside in the summer and doing all this stuff. And I was like, wow, that is really neat.
Right.
And I can understand, and this is, I think, where Taylor and I are going to, I understand a little bit. I think the remote raid thingy is a little much. I think they shouldn't put that cap on it.
I don't think that they should have a cap on it. And I also do think that, like, In order to,
I think 5 is way too low.
well, yeah.
Because a lot of those raids are 20-person raids.
Yeah.
So I think 10 would be like if you're trying to do it, because again, I get what Niantic's saying, and that they're like, go. In fact, there was a meme when Pokemon first came out, right? And it was, Pokemon's been trying to get people to like, you can trade with your friends, go see your friends. And then it was, okay, you don't have to be next to them, but play.
Right.
And then there was the last part of the meme, which was Pokemon Go, and it just said, go the F outside.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like,
Which I have literally witnessed my mom running out of the front door barefoot to go and catch specific Pokemon at the park. So, like, that does work.
And I'm torn between, I understand, and I think that what Niantic is trying to do to get people out into the world
Yes.
is a good thing. And doing augmented reality gaming and doing these things is a good thing. And I think what Niantic's worried about, and I don't think that they're wrong to be worried, is that if they shut it down to the point where people just aren't going outside, where you can basically play it like a Switch game, that it defeats the purpose of the game, right? But then there's the accessibility argument of people who live in far rural areas, who I have a lot of empathy for. Because if you live somewhere rural, like I've been to rural places and tried to play Pokemon Go, like you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right? Like
I mean, I was
you
in the
can't play.
middle of a military base in Bavaria when it came out, and I literally, like, I caught the Bulbasaur in my kitchen and then never saw another Pokemon again until I finally, like, was able to go and get to a larger city. And it was spotty Wi-Fi at best, of course, so there was no good connections, and it was just kind of garbage to play. I didn't start playing until I was back here in the States.
And so I have empathy.
See,
I'm stuck on this one because, like,
I think that they should open it up and literally just let it be, like, if you want to play it on the Switch, fine. Go for it, right?
or if you just want to play it remotely from your house.
If you want to just play it remotely from your house, fine. Go for it. There are quite a few folks that are unable to actually leave their houses comfortably. So I don't think that, like, shutting them out of the game is going to do anything for Pokemon Go. However, they should also, like, have the option to, hey, go the F outside. Go
Do you
play
think maybe
this.
you incentivize going outside?
I mean, if you do it in the right way without also shitting on the players who are going to be playing from their houses and playing remotely, like, it needs, I think that if you give...
Do you think there's a way to balance it?
I do think there is.
To incentivize people to go be out in the community.
Yes.
They do a lot of these Pokemon Go community fests where they get
Yes.
people together to share their love of Pokemon. I know they were teaching the Pokemon TCG at the Go Fest last year.
Yes, and they also had, like, specific Pokemon cards that you could only get at that event. And on top of that, like, you could also, on the flip side, incentivize some folks playing remotely as well. You could get different rewards for either side and have that be melded together. That way you have a good balance of players going between, right, and actually have a more enriched game experience.
Somebody in the YouTube chat brought up more stuff you didn't get into Ingress to add all the points. So the background of this too, as well, is the first game that Niantic really that was big for them was a game called Ingress, and it was an augmented reality game. And Pokemon Go is essentially just a reskin version of Ingress. And basically, in Ingress, what they were trying to get you to do was go to museums and look at sculptures. And that's why when Pokemon Go dropped, all the Pokestops were at places where
and parks
and places to go look at stuff. And that's why the stops were where they were. Was because they literally took the portals from Ingress and were like, that's now a Pokestop. This one's a gym, right? Like, the end, like, we're good here throwing the monster hunting thing and we're done. They didn't do conventions where you can get exclusive stuff. They don't do conventions, but what they do is Go community days. And they happen every couple of months. Like, they're pretty frequent.
Cool. Like, they have a lot over at the Seattle City Center.
There was one over that they had a huge issue with, the one down in Vegas recently, because they charged people, and this is, I think, why a lot of why they're not doing conventions.
Oh, they had connectivity issues at that one, didn't they?
Yes, and so what happened was that they were charging people to go in and do this thing, but because a bunch of people showed up to the
they
immediate
didn't have the
area,
bandwidth to actually
they had the bandwidth for the people who paid for it. It was all the people who were like, "Fuck you, I'm not paying you," and showed up anyway, and were just outside being like, "All right, cool."
I get that.
And
I
so
mean, that also happened at one of the Seattle Pokemon Go days as well, recently.
Yeah. couldn't get into Point of Violence for several hours for Pokemon Go. I will tell you, I have so much fun playing Pokemon Go at the Woodland Park Zoo.
Yeah.
There's so many Pokemon.
See, and I don't ever think to get on my phone when I'm at the zoo, because I'm already like, I am at the zoo to see animals. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a hardcore player for Pokemon Go like a lot of other people.
Yeah. I hope Niantic figures it out. I think that Go was a cool concept from the jump.
It's very cool. You get to see like parents and kids play together.
I play it with my kid,
Yeah,
you know.
That is the first video game I've ever seen my mother have any kind of passion for, and she has legitimately hatched every single one of her eggs. And like it's ridiculous. It's like that is her thing. And we as her kids have been able to touch point with her and play that game with her, and we are all avid gamers in our family.
Well, and you brought this up, like, because we talked about this in regards to the Mario movie and Mario Brothers, where Pokemon is has become this multi-generational IP that's really, really getting to that level of cultural thing. Didn't you mention a new Niantic game on a previous stream? We did. We've talked to somebody from Niantic. There is a Marvel Niantic game coming out this summer. We are hoping that they contact us again. And
I'm pretty excited about it.
Yes, so I'm hoping that Niantic contacts us again because they gave us some ideas about some stuff that they might want to do at the store.
Yes. Oh yeah, they did try with Harry Potter. I do know that they also have a Monster Hunter one that just came out in April, and it looks pretty decent as well. Apparently
the Monster Hunter one's pretty good. Wizarding World did not work just because the AR function of Wizarding World, like, it just wasn't fun.
I literally did not even check that out.
It just wasn't fun. Like, it didn't do well.
Did they shut down support for that?
I don't know if they have or not. It may still be up.
Hold on, chat.
To give you a general idea, Pokemon Go is still sitting somewhere around 5 million active monthly users. I mean, here's the thing. I looked at Niantic's 10Ks, and I mean, I didn't think they were making that much money off of Pokemon Go. They are actually making boatloads off of Pokemon Go.
Oh, they killed Wizard World, the Wizards Unite.
Oh, they shut it down.
They shut it down on January 31st, 2022. Okay, yeah. Oof, that timeline, rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys...
It's still a fairly popular game. I know in Japan it's huge.
Yeah.
I know when they enacted the friend mechanic, and people were, because you got rewards for friends and stuff, I would go onto Twitter and people were posting their freaking code.
Yes.
And I have so many friends in Japan.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And we send gifts back and forth.
Oh yeah.
That's how I get more Pokeballs.
And actually somebody in YouTube brought up seeing people playing while they're driving. Like, I do remember watching people, like, just packed full cars of people on their phones slow rolling through they could catch Pokemon.
We had Dead Space during an army training event a few years ago. This was pre-pandemic, and me and the 6 guys I was with may or may not have driven around Yakima, going from raid gym to raid gym and Pokestop to Pokestop for like 2 days because we didn't have anything else to do. It was hilarious. We would pull into parking lots and stop and then walk over to the thing and then get back in the car, go to the next one. It was hilarious.
Yeah, if you guys have anything or any, good anecdotes from Pokemon Go,
in the comments.
Just let us know. I do think that, again, they should keep the accessibility and stop rolling those things back, but also I think that would also mean that we would have to embrace a lot of the changes in the world that we're living in today.
Yep.
So, and I do think that is going to be a longer and harder battle than we
It's just going to be, it's going to be a long time before all this gets figured out.
Yes.
Okay.
Pikmin Go would be so cool.
Okay, before we get on to user topics, remember, if you have a topic, we've still actually got like half an hour left. So we've got lots of time for your topics. So redeem some channel points or drop it in the YouTube chat. Let us know what you want to talk about today.
There is a Pikmin Go.
There is a Pikmin Go? Holy
I'm
smokes.
checking it out
All
right now.
And while we're waiting to jump into our chat topics, I'll also let you know we're partially sponsored by Durable. If you go to durable.co, their AI stuff will generate a website. So if you like don't have time to get a web developer, or don't remember your HTML from MySpace, as Taylor keeps bringing up, you can go over to durable.co and with some prompts and like 15 minutes, it will build the baseline of your website. And their web editor on the back end is also super easy to use once it builds out the base site to customize. It's the thing that our website, gamers7pnw.com, is built on. They are also our thing. And if you use code GHEAVEN25, you not only support the store, but you will get 25% off of your membership fees. So it's a really good deal. So go to durable.co for more of that.
Ooh, Katamari Damacy.
Okay. All right, chat topics. Again, we have some time, so go ahead and drop them into the thing.
Thank you, Odious. I just downloaded Pikmin Bloom.
There we go. Nice.
We'll see how that goes.
All right. Speaking of community. Okay, so first chat topic. All right, so go ahead and throw that last one in there. First chat topic. Speaking of community, how do I make friends as an adult? Come to the store. I mean, here's the thing that I see the most in people in our community.
Yes.
A lot of us are pretty introverted,
Yes.
right? A lot of us have a hard time making that cold approach.
Yes.
A lot of us struggle with those things.
Well, it's both intimidating to be the person who busts in and goes, "Hello, everybody," and it is also intimidating when people bust in and go, "Hello, everybody," because you're like, why the hell are you so active? What is wrong with you?
So,
Ooh, good question.
come to the store. I mean, so here's the thing, is one, come to the store, and the second piece is, and this is the hard part, you have to participate.
Well, yeah.
We have people who come into the store and they've talked to me. Well, they'll be like, I want to make friends. Cool. And then we'll even attempt to assist
Yes.
and be like, here's someone you could play Pokemon with or Magic or whatever.
You make that connection.
We help them make that connection, and then they don't. There's something there.
Sometimes people don't click, and I do think
No,
that there's
I'm
definitely...
not talking about those. So the ones that I'm not talking about are the people that just don't click. That's
Yeah.
fine. That's going to happen. I'm talking about the ones that I'm chatting about are the ones who it's not a matter of not clicking. They just, when you're trying to make new friends,
Yep.
you have to put in some effort.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. So what I see is a lot of people go, I want to make friends. I'm introverted. I have a hard time. But then they don't want to make that.
Effort.
They don't want to take that 30% step forward.
Yes.
And you've got to take that 30% step forward.
Yes.
You cannot ask someone else to do all of the work
Right.
in making a new friendship.
Absolutely.
That's the one that I'm like, the one that I see the most that stops people from making friends is where one person doesn't want to make the effort.
Yeah.
Like they want friends and they want to be friends, but they refuse to move that thingy.
My favorite is seeing some folks come in and instead of trying to make friends with the people in the community, they try to make friends with the staff, which I also understand.
Which I do.
But sometimes it is very hard to encourage making friends with the community when they have set their wants on only being friends with the staff. Right?
So I'm going to address a couple things in chat. Somebody in chat said, hey, the first thing I do when I go to a new area is go to Friday Night Magic. We know that there's people with common interests to talk about.
Yes.
And that's kind of what we're talking about is come to the store, come to where...
Yeah, go to a local game store if you're not in our area.
Yep. And meet people like you who have similar interests.
Yes.
Cons are a great place to meet people. Somebody else brought up having a monthly social meet and greet here. We used to have those.
Yes.
Here's the thing, the people to which that would most benefit
Don't come.
don't come. And that's the kind of that 30% that I'm talking about is, if I was going to really boil this down, is it's not always, and just because you're uncomfortable, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm fairly extroverted.
You are very extroverted.
I even still get uncomfortable in social situations at times, okay? That is not abnormal. Even when you are an outgoing person, to my introverts out there, if you think that extroverts are never uncomfortable in social situations, you are very wrong.
And as an outgoing introvert, over here, I will tell you that the uncomfortableness of interacting with others is not necessarily because it is uncomfortable to interact with people. It is because you are having to deal with the newness and of the situation and the possibility of unknowns happening, which will make anybody uncomfortable. So having to put yourself in the right mind space for that and accept that there might be some things that you don't know how to handle that's not necessarily bad, that may happen, but also understanding that you are doing so in a safe space.
Yes, which is what we've tried to build here.
Right, which is what we try to facilitate, is giving you that safe space and those kind of like bowling bumpers, so to speak.
There you go. That's
right?
a good one. I like that analogy.
So that if you are in a situation, right, and you are unable to enjoy it, you can let us know why, and we can either facilitate a different situation for you or bring you over into a different community space.
And somebody brought up in the chat that, like somebody came in and Taylor made them a boba and I talked D&T with them. Again, don't just make friends with us. Like, we love to chat and we're great.
We love you too.
And we do.
It's
And
wonderful.
we're great to facilitate, where it's like talking to us can help us kind of point you in the direction.
Yes.
And also getting to know your personalities, which is why we want to do it.
Yes.
Helps us know, and we've spotted this before, where we're like, this person will like these types of players and things like that. This group over here, maybe not so much.
Right.
Right. And that's not a bad thing. The other thing that I tell a lot of the introverted people who are like, how do you do this? It's going to sound stupid. It's going to sound counterintuitive. But here's the thing that got me past, because I used to be very quiet and don't care. Okay? Here's the thing. You are a person. You have value as a human being. And if people don't see that value in you, and if they don't want to share their value with you and have that mutual exchange of value in community, screw them. Okay?
Yeah.
Like, they're not worth your time.
Yeah, I mean...
Okay? Because there are people out there who will find value in you.
Absolutely.
Right? So surround yourself with people who you find value in, and who find value in you, and where your values are complementary, and where you're going to be something that lifts each other up.
Yes.
Right? This is how you avoid things like somebody taking on too much emotional, like one side taking on too much emotional labor, or mental labor,
or toxicity.
Or toxicities. It's finding value.
Yes.
For any introvert who wants to be more extroverted, join a LARP. That's actually not a terrible place.
We do actually have quite a few LARPing groups and a boffer group that use our store as one of their key points.
Yes.
So
you can pretend to be someone else you're not. I've seen that a lot with tabletop RPGs. They are a great place to just meet people
and come out of your
and
shell.
Start coming out of your shell.
Yeah.
I've seen people explore a lot of different things about themselves and how they want to inhabit their space through tabletop RPGs.
That's actually how I did what I did when I was traveling. If I was going into, like a new city and like visiting a different place, I would be like, okay, so this time I'm very confident and it's awesome and I'm not bothered by anything. And it was a very interesting way in learning how to interact the world without having to worry about am I going to meet these people again?
Yes.
On the flip side, you also end up making friends, and then you have to be like, hey guys, I'm actually introverted, I'm sorry.
Being aware of your boundaries is good. Always be aware of your boundaries and learn to, with kindness, communicate those boundaries, right? And people should respect them kindly.
And if they don't respect them, screw them.
Yeah. Like I said, if people don't if they don't see the value in you, they are not worth your time, because you are a person who is valuable. Full stop.
Yes. Your worth is not...
based on what other people think of you.
Yes. Also, you may not be someone's cup of tea, but you might also be someone's glass of whiskey, and that's okay too.
That's true. And again, I think a lot of people get tied up in the everybody needs to like me.
No, they don't. It's exhausting.
And I'm saying a lot of people get tied up in that.
Yes.
Don't. There are lots of people in the world. that I don't like and that don't like me, and that's perfectly fine. We don't have to be best friends.
No.
I don't need to be best friends with everyone in the world. Some people are just not your cup of tea, and that's okay. You have to accept that's okay. And I think that's some people sometimes have a hard time doing.
Mm-hmm.
is
Absolutely.
Doing that.
Well said.
There we go. All right.
Peaches.
People making a Pokemon. I would love to see a better Pokemon TTRPG. I know there's one out there.
Isn't that run on the
What
Palladium
is
system or the Fate system?
I think it's definitely not Palladium. Pokemon. I know one was released at one point.
Oh no. Ouch. Oh, Shane, we appreciate you. You're wonderful. And also, there is something to be said about being able to flex the muscle of getting outside of your comfort zone, right? Because once you're inside of your comfort zone and you continue to reinforce that, it becomes an echo chamber. And those are very hard to get out of. And as people, we should be able to move out of our comfort zones once in a while and flex that muscle and be able to learn new things, which is how we grow, because we're organic beings. So
it looks like there's a couple of like fan-built ones, but it looks like they may.
What do they run on?
There was a D20 Pokemon like ago, but
Yeah, it looks like there's some communities out there, but I don't think there's one that being actively published right now. Trying to think. I mean, I can think of how I would design it if I was going to do it. I would be surprised if they were going to license it out at this point.
Honestly, if you want to make a game and you want to do Pokemon, one, be very, very careful of using the IP, but two, I would definitely either, work with GURPS from YouTube. Yeah, you could do that. Or if you wanted to, you could also work with the ORC system that Paizo works with as well. That way you don't have to worry about any of the issues with that.
That's their new tentative OGL. It's still in draft form. I'm waiting to see what the next one looks like. After they release the next version of the Orc, I do want to do it as a topic.
Okay. I know that we could also bring in the creator of Valor to speak on that as well, because she has been very, very tapped into that, and that would be a very good conversation.
We've been, Mallow and I have been watching that one really closely because we signed up with Identico to see, like, we're like, okay, we're interested to see what this looks like. I want to see what the next draft looks like before we say anything. Yes.
Yes.
I want to wait for the next draft before I say anything.
I mean, there's a lot to be said about having to create an entirely new,
legal framework
around a system, right? That gives the creators that ability to create, but also maintains your ability to protect your own licensed things.
Yeah, and that's
difficult.
There's been a lot of discussion about that one, especially after they released the first Orc draft. So I'm curious. Yeah, I'm curious what they're gonna do.
Did a timeline for that?
No, I have not seen a final we're gonna put it into place on this date. The first draft has been released. The second draft, I don't believe, has come out.
They're doing a lot of very heavy discussions in the ORC Discord that a lot of the indie TTRPGs have joined in order to have a voice in this.
Yeah.
I know that they're probably a long ways from actually being able to finalize anything, just because they're taking into consideration almost everybody's input, which slows things down.
Too.
Yes, absolutely.
Who?
Orc. Because of the OGL thing?
Yeah, well, the Orc was a response to the OGL.
Specifically for
this
the
was
OGL, yeah.
This was a response to the OGL debacle. Was Paizo said, okay, we're going to design the Orc, and who wants to come in with us? And we're going to design a new licensing structure that's going to do what we all thought the OGL should do, and it's going to be open source, and be good. And then as soon as they're done with it, they're going to hand it over to a nonprofit that specializes in these types of areas. Yeah, I said.
That is all TBD.
Yes, that is all TBD, but it was a response to the orc.
I actually
definitely give a video on that. And what that is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For
I think
sure.
it would be really nice to just dig in, especially because our indie scene is something that we continually want to invest in.
And I haven't had a chance to talk to Liana about.
Liana has some really good insights
about the orc. I haven't had a chance to sit down with her and talk to her. Liana created Valor, and we one of our local creators, and she runs a thing in the store every other week.
Yes.
So you guys should come in and check out Valor.
That is 3 p.m. on Saturdays and is on our live event calendar on gamers7pnw.com.
Yep.
And Odious, I definitely understand that.
So yeah, somebody in the chat said sounds too good to be true. Mallow and I did a cursory read over the not a cursory. We did a read over the draft, and we're kind of like, okay. What else do we got here? Do you have one there in YouTube? What's the phrase you can press? What do we got there?
Oh, I just thought it was cool.
Be the best peach out there, but some people just don't like peaches.
That's very true. That's very, very true.
I actually have something we can pivot to if you would like.
Go.
So this is actually tied in with Nintendo.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you wanted to talk about this literally. I'm so glad you did it. Because I was like, wait, there was an emulator thing you wanted to talk about.
So, and I did send you this article.
I know, I'm about to pull it up.
So, in light of the recent Tears of the Kingdom spoiler, Nintendo is again cracking down on the users that do emulation on their platform.
Which to me makes no sense. And so I'm wondering, and I'm just curious, do you think that this is just bad timing? That they're cracking down on emulation after the Tears of the Kingdom thing?
I think it's a response.
Or do you think it is a response?
I think it's a response.
In which case, Nintendo, this is fucking stupid.
Well, well, they didn't confirm whether or not it was a response.
I'm saying,
I am.
If it's a response to the Tears of the Kingdom thing, because I'm going to tell you this, the Tears of the Kingdom leak has nothing to do with emulation. I'm so tired of these. I don't respond by doing stupid things.
I mean, knee-jerk reactions are certainly something that are very much in the
Gary
gaming
Bowser.
industry.
That's right. I remember.
Yes. So Gary Bowser is somebody who just got out of prison.
That was the.
That
he was
is
part
an
of.
entire story of its
That was
own.
the team executor. That's not Skyline.
That is not Skyline.
So,
However,
Skyline Nintendo emulator has announced that they are ending development. They announced that their official retirement from Nintendo Switch emulation development.
upon receiving a DMCA.
Yep, they got.
For using their own game keys that they have purchased to emulate. Woof. Sorry, I am laughing because.
I was gonna say this is kind of scattered. Can we start? And...
So yeah. So basically.
So I'll go here.
Do you want to run through the?
Yeah, okay. Skyline has received some legal documentation from Nintendo telling them to shut it down, right? And so Skyline Emulators has announced that they are ending development of emulation on Switch. And so their emulator team, they said, we find ourselves in a position where we are potentially violating their copyright by continuing to develop our project. Skyline by dumping keys from our own Switches. And so what they're saying is that Nintendo's claim is that because you're taking your product key
that you have purchased
and basically unlocking it and giving it away, they're violating the copyright.
Reminder, kids, if you buy a game digitally, you are just renting it long term.
So yes, it's just a long-term lease. I love emulators. I absolutely adore them.
They have a spot in the gaming world, especially for those who are not able to access the original game systems.
Yes. Somebody in chat brings up, Nintendo does these things because Japanese laws regarding copyright and fair use are vastly different. This is true. And we also must, and this is something that we, especially in America, don't do a lot. We have to remember that U.S. copyright law is not the be-all, end-all of copyright and trademark law in the world. And so
for that, I am grateful.
We tend to get that. You wouldn't be.
I am not grateful for. There are a lot of things that I can go into on that. We're not
Ironically enough,
today.
our copyright and IP laws are some of the loosest in the world. The ones in Japan are like, this is why Nintendo gets away with it, because Japan's are like, no.
I have opinions, and I'm not sharing them.
On Japan?
Continue.
Japan's are evil. They're really locked down. Forget emulators. Like, this is just not happening.
So the article that I sent Alex actually talks about the fact that emulators and emulation in general for games kind of exists in a gray / white area, especially because it is oftentimes those who have purchased the games and are releasing the game as emulation for others. And I will tell you this. There is something to be said for emulators to be able to help keep older games alive. I mean, the way that I played Pokemon for my first time, it was an emulator on my phone.
So I want to be clear. I'm saying I don't agree with anybody who's shutting down these emulators. Video games are art. Mm-hmm. They should be preserved as such.
Yes.
And quite frankly, I think they should fall into the public domain after 15 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Agreeable.
So to be clear, when I'm saying this, I'm saying we have to take it out of the Western context and realize that a lot of other countries are way worse than us. But my point is, I think none of them should have this kind of stuff because I think once art's out into the world, you should be able to share it.
Yeah.
Within reason.
Art is how we grow as communities as well. That is how we express ourselves. That is how we make movements in the world as well.
What's the public domain for movies? Depends on the film.
25 years?
Oh, it's more than that. I think it still falls under the 70 lifetime of the artist plus 75, and I think the artist is technically considered the director.
Good Lord.
So, yeah. And by the way, if you haven't seen it, go watch. Matt Pat did a really great film theory about 4 weeks ago about how Disney's going to get around the public domain stuff. And it was an angle that I had not seen, right? Because Steamboat Willie's about to fall into the public domain.
Yeah.
And Matt Pat went, by the way, y'all weren't paying attention. No, he's not. And I was like, son of a crap.
So does that mean that, because I do know that Weiss actually just released a Disney set.
Under
and
license.
Has Steamboat Willie. So Disney worked with Weiss.
Yes, under license.
And is also releasing Lorcana later this year.
Mm-hmm.
I find, these... Sometimes, if you pay attention, the web gets twistier and twistier. There's a very interesting dynamic, right, between both the controllers of the IP and those who are creating games.
Yeah, I agree with uploading all public domain movies and shows to YouTube so it's easily accessible. And quite frankly, again, I think that any video game that is more than 3 console generations back should be dumped into a giant repository.
Yeah, I mean, it's art.
Especially stuff like Nintendo. This is what makes me freaking mad at Nintendo, right? And let's not forget, we started this by being mad at Nintendo, okay? I can't go out and just find some, like there's some classic Nintendo games that I remember playing as a child.
You can't find anymore.
Never gonna find them again.
They don't even have them on the Nintendo, I know that I pay for the Nintendo Pass or whatever that includes like N64 and GameCube games and stuff like that. And like, I have physical copies of some GameCube games that will never be on those shops.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, I've seen a lot of discussion both in movies and television and video games lately, especially about physical media. I think that shutting down these emulator services and things like that, I think what really needs to happen is Nintendo needs to sit down with some of these people from these communities, and they need to, and by the way, I also partially blame Congress, right? Because you guys should be building a legal framework upon which we can enjoy these things, these pieces of art, and not allow these corporations to just take them away.
Okay, hold on though, because we're expecting a body of government that does not understand how Wi-Fi works to be able to build a legal framework for video games, which is probably far out of their scope of understanding.
You're right, I stand corrected.
I just there are some issues there that we need to address before we're able to.
Yeah, I could try and
To
deep drive
surpass
Japanese
that.
use shifts for some of the games. Is TikTok a planet? Yes or no? I found the mecha.
TikTok see my face.
Yeah.
yes or
So the issue is you can find. So this is what Taylor was talking about, and I want to add to what Taylor was saying.
Yeah.
You can find a lot of things, and again, emulation has always existed in this weird legal gray area.
It's gray.
So in theory, and again, I am not your attorney. Do not take what I am saying as legal advice.
Not a lawyer.
In theory, if Taylor and I go out tomorrow and we hit a garage sale, right, and we combine to buy
The original Sega with Mortal Kombat.
with 1,800 games, we could take those games home, find a way to rip them to another system,
Yes.
and we could play them on our computers all we want.
Yes.
They are ours. And even if our computers were searched by law enforcement, they'd be like, do you own these games? Yes, we own the
Yes.
physical copies.
Here it is.
Okay?
Right, like burning CDs.
Right. You are allowed to copy your own stuff for your own personal use all you want. Have fun. It's yours.
Because you have paid for it.
Right. The minute that's distributed, posted, uploaded, re-downloaded, or anything else happens with that IP,
There's the gray area.
we don't know. We don't know.
I mean,
Now, Gary Bowser is going to be paying Nintendo for the rest of his life, right? To avoid going back to prison.
that story deserves a deep dive of
yeah.
its own. That is rough as hell.
You know, and I was having a discussion with our Smash community actually about this
Yeah.
on Thursday, because we were talking about the next big, huge Smash event that we want to run, right, for Smash Ultimate.
Right.
And he brought up the fact that, Nintendo hates this, right?
Yeah.
Like, they absolutely cannot stand that we're doing this.
Yep.
I'm not going to answer the Gary Bowser question right now. You can Google it. Seriously, Google it. You'll find plenty of articles.
Yeah, there are
It's too long
quite
for us to talk
a few,
about.
articles that are very recent that do some really good deep dives into it. We can always talk about it later. It does get into some hairy topics that we don't necessarily, as a game store, think that we should directly address.
Yeah.
However, there are some parts of that we are happy to talk about a little bit later.
This is
That's
one
a
that
lot.
Taylor and I would have to sit down and talk about that one.
Yeah, that is like days of research for that. It is rough.
Yeah.
Just know it's rough.
So, I mean, ultimately, I think the fact that Nintendo's now back to this whole legal action nonsense is making me mad.
Smackdown! Yeah, no, I understand. And it is interesting.
Because you like emulators too. Like, you think this is something that we should have.
Well, yes. So, okay, I was just thinking about this earlier, and we talk a lot about, making sure to support your creators, pay your artists, pay your writers, all of those good things. And then on the other side, we're talking about emulation, right? Mm-hmm. And how we do think that those games and that art should be accessible. And I do think that those two ideas can be married, right? Mm-hmm. But there has to be changes made in order to have that happen, right? But at the end of the day, you have Nintendo, who used to require a specific license in order to stream their video games.
Yeah,
on
that whole
Twitch.
Nintendo creator nonsense that they tried for about 10 minutes.
And they also require any artists who do any kind of fan art of their IPs to have a specific license as well, which is, I don't believe it's a one-time fee. I think it is a multiple, it's kind of like a rental service. It is interesting to see how they speak about trying to make it so that all players are able to play their games and make it, gaming for the family. And on the back end, they're coming through and they're just doing full-on smackdowns on any kind of accessibility or ability for those who, may not be able to afford their systems or cannot access their games from where they are to play their games.
Yep.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
There's a lot to unpack in here.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah.
What do we think about the latest game conversion to TV show Twisted Metal? I saw the trailer.
I did not. What did you think? I remember playing Twisted Metal.
So first off, Twisted Metal, especially the first 2-3 Twisted Metals, I think they're on 7 or 8 now.
That tracks.
I really loved them, but of course, I was a 12-year-old boy So at the time that they came out, 12, 13. And so they were specifically like marketed to like,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, I would go over to my next door neighbor's house, who was a 12-year-old boy,
Yep.
and play Twisted Metal. So.
Yep. And I thought the characters were interesting because you had the ice cream guy.
And the big
you had,
clown face guy.
Yeah, you had all kinds of the sweet tooth. And so there was, you know, and the tank. It was such a fun little thing. It was like this very like motorcycle Ghost Rider-y kind of character.
Yep.
Mr. Grimm.
Mr. Grimm.
Yep.
Oh, I remember.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you for this repeat.
So what do I think about the latest game conversion to TV show Twisted Metal? So first off, there is enough like lore, as Matt Pat would say, and like underlying story that you've got a lot of stuff to draw upon to build a dramatic series.
Yeah.
They're getting Anthony Mackie, who was Falcon in the MCU, and I like him as an actor. I think
I do too.
I think he's very charismatic. He's the main character in the new show. I'm cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, I'm
cautiously optimistic.
Optimistic, yes, but I don't remember enough lore to
Who's the
make watching
showrunner?
a show worth watching a show about this. I feel like it's almost going to be like watching like a different flavor of Mad Max.
And that's probably what it's gonna be. I'm trying to see who the showrunner is.
It's just going to be interesting to see how they do this.
Michael Jonathan Smith. What did he do?
That is a very fair point, Kelsey, in YouTube chat. If Disney can make a movie franchise based off of a ride, they can make a show based off of a game with actual lore.
He's been a big-time writer on Cobra Kai. He's done a lot of stuff. Diary of a Future President. That's a really cute show.
Cobra Kai is really popular.
Chosen. Yeah, I mean he's been an active writer for 15 years. So he's written some pretty decent stuff. He wrote I really want to know. One of his writing credits is for If Star Wars Had Tinder from 2018, and now I have to go watch and find out what that is. I did see the thing for the Gran Turismo movie. That actually looks really fun. The Gran Turismo movie looks really good. It has David Harbour in it. It's actually based on a true story.
I see your face. It's not what you think.
It is not what you think, but it is based upon a true story.
I could have been a race car driver as a kid. All I'm saying.
Yep, you could have. You could have. If only you would have known about that contest put on by Nismo. Speaking of writers, any updates on the strike? No.
They've been very closed off. I've been very tapped into that. I do know that they're Disney.
Too early.
Actually, the last news that I saw that was actually pretty noteworthy was the fact that Disney called all of their writers.
So did HBO.
And said, don't forget, just because you are striking on writing doesn't mean that you can stop doing all of the other things that are in your contract, which is trying to force them to cross a picket line. Very interesting.
Specifically, it's showrunners, it's writer-producers.
Yes. Which, with Netflix, the creators of Stranger Things have actually
They've shut it down.
Shut down the show creation to
For
go
season
strike
5.
as well in support of the WGA.
So on the letter that Disney and a couple of the other production studios have sent out saying, hey, look, if you're a writer-producer, get your butt back to work.
And they're like, no. Some of them.
Some of them are saying no. Here's the thing, again, this is one of those ones where people have to make a living. And I understand. I can understand a writer-producer saying, I will not do any writing for you, but I will, because I'm a showrunner, I will go in the editing bay and cut the episodes that we've already shot. Right? And doing the stuff that's there. Especially since they may lose their livelihood if they don't. They may get blacklisted by a studio if they don't. I don't know. That one's, for the writer-producers, I do not envy having to make that decision. Man,
in an ideal world, we would not have the ability to live held over our heads in order to be manipulated to do things that we do not agree with.
To be clear, I think Warner Brothers and Disney are wrong for doing it.
They're scabs for doing that.
Well, they're not. They're not the scab.
Nah.
A scab has a very specific meaning
I
within the
know.
labor force, so I don't
Yes,
want to
I know.
ascribe that to to management,
Yes.
because management can't be scabs. I love, yeah. Disney and Netflix or Disney and HBO are wrong for making them do it. Here's the thing. Now, and again, and the way they went about it was particularly
Not great.
well, it was particularly manipulative. And specifically, it was this. By the way, if the WGA finds you for coming in to do things that aren't writing duties, we'll pay it. We're indemnifying you, and we'll pay the fine.
So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Yeah, pretty much. Because the best thing the WGA has, the best tactic that the guild has for stopping somebody from doing that
is you are never, ever able to be part of that union, ever.
They would, no, well, that's different. That's what they would do to an actual scab.
Okay.
They would fine them, right?
Oh, okay.
They would basically be like, hey, we're fining you $1,000 a day for every day you fucking do it.
To outweigh whatever you make in that day anyways.
And what Disney's saying is
we'll pay that.
we're going to pay it.
So they're paying double.
So, and again, this is why this particular story, I've seen a lot of commentary on this one. And basically, so what Disney is saying is, and again, now the guild's actually arguing that the A through H items are covered under the Writers Guild contract and not the other one. And again, I'm not a lawyer. And so what they're doing is they're saying, so producer Pete.
Yes.
Let's say producer Pete is a member of the Writers Guild and the Producers Guild.
Oh.
Right? Producer Pete
Fancy.
does two different things for this one show. Pete writes episodes, but Pete's job is also to edit and produce those episodes on the back end, right? What Disney's saying is producer Pete, under this guild that you're part of, and there are a lot of, by the way, there are a lot of actors and directors
who are across,
who are part of multiple guilds.
Or support multiple guilds.
Or, yeah, and specifically, again, are in multiple guilds. So producer Pete, well, what Disney's saying is, hey, we're not asking you to write new episodes. You don't have to write a thing. But all this stuff that we already filmed, that the actors have already done, you're going to cut this into its proper, do the editing and everything else has got to be done.
This will only work until the other guilds strike too.
And so that's kind of, to answer Chat's question, that's the one that I'm waiting for. I've seen a lot of commentary back and forth where it's a different economic time than 2007. It's a different entertainment structure, and it very much is different than the last time they struck. But the problem is a lot of the stuff that the that the Screenwriters Guild is asking for is the same things the Actors Guild and the Directors Guild are going to ask for. And the fact that they can shut everything down within the next month is going to put a lot of pressure on the studios. So anybody who says that the writers are in a bad position right now, they're in a bad position for the moment.
All they need to do is be patient, and then they will have more numbers.
Quite frankly.
Because again, we're stronger together, especially if we are asking for things that are like basic human rights.
This seems like it incentivizes corporations to cut the budgets of shows. So,
kind of. Could be.
No. In the case of a writer-producer, no.
Maybe.
Writer-producer's like the top tier. Like, that's what everybody's working for.
Right.
Because you're what's commonly called a showrunner, right? Taylor, you're not just a writer anymore.
Right.
Now what the studio is saying, you don't just get to write them. You get to decide who the directors are. You get to decide who the actors are.
So I'm also the project manager. Got it.
But it's now you're the writer, and we're not just taking your script and doing what we want with it.
Right.
It get to
have creative control.
It's
over
your
this.
creative control.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of writers, this is kind of the pinnacle
absolutely.
of what you're working toward.
Right. That's their career.
That's being a showrunner is a big, big deal. I've got plenty of entertainment working tonight. That's kind of where everybody's at. That's where the writers and the actors are in a strong position. Is anybody really going to notice for a while?
Good luck to them, seriously.
I mean, I think that most of their demands are perfectly reasonable.
Absolutely. Like healthcare and good wages.
I mean, the biggest one, I honestly think the biggest...
Better communication.
The biggest discrepancy between the writers, and it's going to be the same thing with the actors and the directors, is transparency. Guess what, folks? I can go look at box office numbers right now, and they're reported by a third party.
And almost daily.
Yeah.
Like throughout a release of a movie.
Yep. They know how much money a movie made, right? They don't know how much it's being streamed. And quite frankly, what are you guys categorizing as a view? Because each one of you has a different criteria, right? If Pete accidentally clicks the button and goes into it for 2 seconds before he realizes he clicked the wrong show and he wasn't meaning to watch Say Yes to the Dress.
Or if it auto-plays on Netflix because you sit on the preview.
Yep.
Like the old Facebook scroll video.
Oh,
yep.
God. Yeah.
And so this is probably their biggest issue.
Kelsey, that is true
thing.
as well.
The train people's requests were very reasonable too.
You mean like asking for sick time?
Yeah. I'm not going to jump on that one. That's a whole other...
I am dark and bitter about that. We can talk about that on ID After Dark if you really want to.
I agree. Ultimately, I agree with you, Kelsey, but that's not really... Anyway, that's it. For more of our stuff, go to gamersheavenpnw.com. Our live event schedule is live and constantly being updated.
Yes, absolutely. We are making new events daily, if not weekly, as well as trying to plan out for some larger events. We do have our Community Appreciation Day this month.
No, we moved it.
Beginning of next month.
We moved it for a good reason.
Yeah, it was a very good reason. And we also do have quite a few tournaments coming up as well. Some learn how to plays, some drinking doodles, all of the good things. So
I think we have Smash Melee this week.
I believe so.
Yeah, so come check that out. So yeah, we'll talk to y'all later. We love you.
We appreciate you. Be kind to yourselves.
We'll be back with a game stream tomorrow and another super show on Wednesday.
Oh, baby.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.